Hi everyone, welcome to Hustler Stories. Today we're shooting one of a very special episode with Snigdha, and it's special because we've been with her throughout the journey. And Cora Health is also one of the portfolio companies of Headstart Investor Circle. So welcome, Snigdha. Just to give a brief background about Snigdha, she is the co-founder of Cora Health. She has a very strong background and in e-commerce, FMCG, healthcare, and wellness sectors. She having worked in companies like Flipkart, ITC, United Breweries, Philip Morris International. A little bit about Cora. Cora is a Bangalore-based social commerce platform for health and wellness. They help people discover products suited for their health needs through guidance and recommendations from a trusted online community. So they're doing a fantastic job. Welcome, Snigdha. And I think what I would like to understand is that what inspired you to start Cora. When was that spark that happened, and you thought that this is something that I want to do?
First of all, thank you so much, Vane. I think we've connected for a while and super excited to be doing this with you and, doing this with Head Start overall. Thank you so much for having me and sort of, giving a chance to share my story. Talking about, say, sort of where this started from, right? I think it comes from, for any entrepreneur, I think it comes from like a deep personal need, right? And that sort of really fuels you in terms of wanting to, say, find solutions. And also, say, I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, they have that thing to build something out, right, and contribute to the society. And I think that was very important for me and Srijit as well, right, who's my co-founder. So when I was at Flipkart, it came from a very personal need of wanting to find healthier options, struggling a bit. And I think that I can, like research quite a bit. I can do all of that. But given the time of the, sort of the lifestyle that I had, and I would be probably working like 8 to 10 hours a day at least, right? It was really difficult for me to be able to put that much time in terms of, finding things that I could eat on a daily basis. And I felt that somewhere I would have, liked a little bit more help, right, than what sort of I had at that point of time. And when I started thinking about, say, a lot of people who are not in Bangalore, who don't have, say, the access that I have, and for them to sort of go through something similar to me and not be able to figure out, I think that was, say, a massive moment for me. And I realized that there is a huge shift happening in healthy eating, but it's not yet that simple. It's not accessible, and in a lot of places not affordable as well, right? And that sort of really drove us to, sort of taking this ahead and building it out. So a combination of a personal vision and building something out for the greater good.
Thank you for doing this for all of us, Nigda. I think it's something that all of us need, and like you said, everybody doesn't have the time or even the trust on any platform to do this, right? So I think you're solving something that everybody needs. And like you said, you were working in Flipkart while you discovered this thing. So you've had a background in e-commerce and these companies before. So how has that helped you in your journey in Cora? And what are the new things that you've learned as an entrepreneur?
I think as an entrepreneur, you realize that there are absolutely so many things that go into running a business that you probably took a lot for granted when you were in, another company and working there, right? So my experience in startup in Flipkart, was definitely a sort of pushing me towards what I've done till date, because it was a very high ownership role. I sort of had to completely strategize and build out the strategy and be able to sort of build out the roadmap for the category. So it sort of, I think, poised me for where I am today. In terms of just the different experiences that you have in your life, I think all the different pillars that are there for a business and for a consumer business would be, say, brand, a good amount of marketing, and sort of getting the right selection, and as well being able to sort of find a way to distribute it. So I think a lot of experience in these companies gives you that holistic vision of being able to tie things together, right? So you do not think that one thing is more important or less important than the other, and you understand that especially in a consumer company, and I'm sure this is equally applicable to other industries as well, but you understand in a consumer company, awareness and distribution become the most important channels for you, right? And you essentially try and take it from there. So I think working in a lot of these companies sort of reduces the amount of time it takes you in your own company to figure these things out, because you come with a lot of understanding of knowing sort of what is important, etc. And that in itself sort of makes the life of an entrepreneur a little easier, right? Because now that you ask the second question as to what all are the things that you have to learn, I think there's nothing that I've not done. I think I've put up a WordPress website. I think I've written email copies. I've given voiceover to animation videos. I mean, the list is endless, right? And as a lot of people in office call me, I'm like the head HR in making, because I have to hire all the time, right? So these are skill sets that I never had because I came from a business background, right? And a business and marketing background. So when you have to learn so many new things at the same time, having some sort of a core skill set that you understand to be able to scale makes your life a lot more easier, right? Otherwise you will say have to end up saying, figuring everything out, and that can, just increase the challenges of being an entrepreneur, right? So that's sort of what the journey has been for me, and I think that is something that becomes a little more important for entrepreneurs as well, right? To be able to see what learnings do they have, to be able to say, catapult that. And that learnings can say come from college, working in different committees, doing certain projects on the side, anything, but something that sort of you have to at least not start from on level zero there, right? And that sort of really helps you going ahead.
Absolutely. I think you truly justify being here because, as the name suggests, these are hustler stories, and you've hustled so much and, learned so many new things as well. So that's quite commendable. Snigdha, I'm sure there must have been a lot of ups and downs, in the journey. So how has the journey been so far, and where is Cora Health today?
Banya, the journey has been excruciating yet amazingly blissful at the same time. I mean, as an entrepreneur, the amount of sort of failures and rejections that you see, I think for most of us who come from, say, some sort of like an educational background, we've not seen that, right? And I think that sort of becomes a wake-up call for you to sort of, start taking in that feedback quite a bit, right? So that objectivity sort of starts kicking in. The journey for us, and it's been with Headstart since quite the start as well, is that we were still trying to figure out a product market fit, right? And we were aware that the health and wellness space is huge. We were aware that there's an inherent demand for people to want to eat these things and, sort of be healthier. But how do you help them, and sort of where is the business to be made, right? That has required a lot of sort of pivots, sometimes soft, sometimes hard. Like, to be quite honest, we started with a chronic care, continuous care model where we felt that, we would be able to help within the health and nutrition space, people within a certain cohort to be able to manage their life a lot better, right? However, we faced challenges with that as well. And we continuously kept pivoting, and we sort of reached here. And I think the pivot, or at least the iteration, is not yet complete. I think I was seeing one of the interviews of Vidit from Misho, and he was talking about the fact that there's never a PMF in binary. It's not 0 or 1. There's like a soft PMF, and there's like a like really hard PMF, right? So I think that for us as well, we've definitely moved out of the soft PMF part, and we are now at like a 1 crore monthly GMV traction. We have about 2 lakh customers. So it's great. We do have a lot of customers. We've been able to get all of this traction, but we're still not satisfied. We still believe that there's a lot more value that we can add. There's a lot more that we can do. And which is why I still feel that for us, like that absolute hard PMF, I'm still wanting to work a little more towards that, right? And I think that journey for us has been amazing, because you look at the business from all angles, and you look at, say, the customer journeys from all angles, and you also look at the ecosystem play, sort of what sort of brands are there, what support do they need, how do you do D2C enablement as well? Because, we've talked about this earlier, but there are about 9,000 plus D2C brands in just the health and wellness space, right? And this is the sort of market opportunity that exists. But only about say 100 of them are like doing really well currently on certain marketplaces, right? So there's a lot of work that needs to be done towards distribution again of these brands to the customers, and that sort of helps the customers and helps the brands as well. So there's a lot of work to be done on that perspective. In terms of a roadmap, we're really excited about playing a slightly bigger role in the D2C enablement space as well, becoming the channel of distribution for most of the D2C brands who are looking to reach to conscious customers, ensuring that they're being able to do that at a much more manageable unit economics. Because currently what happens is that most of the brands will essentially have to jack up their prices to be able to cover their costs, right? Because that's how the unit economics of most of the marketplaces are. So doing a little more sort of backward integration and looking at how we can sort of improve that from the ecosystem place by looking at a lot of new features in which we can make the discovery and the repeat purchase of healthy foods a lot more seamless, right? And sort of that's where a lot of our focus and sort of our nights go towards, and hope to make strides in this in the coming future.
Awesome. I think you've come so far, and more power to you and your team. And I'm sure that, you'll do wonders in this space. And what everything, I mean, what we appreciate here at Headstart, that you have that paid forward attitude as well, right? That's something that we endorse thoroughly, paying it back to the D2C community as well. So that's also very, very inspiring, Snigdha. As part of my last question, I think I would like your perspective on the 3 things that you think an entrepreneur must have, and that's something our audience can also take back with them.
I think it's a difficult skill set to be an entrepreneur from the perspective that, let me see, answer those 3 points. The first one is that you have to think today and think 2 years down the line at the same time. So you essentially have to have your 1 foot firmly planted into the ground and then still be looking at the moon and thinking, how do we skyrocket there? Right? So essentially, you have to always keep an eye on what's working for you today. Keep your ears close to the ground, understand what's happening, and then think of ways to be able to scale this and take it way above and beyond. Right. The second thing I would say is, a mixture of objectivity and, sort of being able to take in all the feedback and sort of, push it through the funnel and use whatever is capable, sort of whatever is suitable to you, right? Because as founders, you would normally see that everybody has a point of view on sort of how you can be taking things ahead, right? And a lot of that comes from, say, their personal experiences, which are also gold, because all of us keep looking for user research interviews to do, right? So essentially, taking that entire feedback and funneling that through in a way that sort of it works for you, right? And that, I think, is extremely important. I'm actually going to list 4 things. The third thing, according to me, is to be patient and hustle at the same time. Only hustling, I think, can also mean that you will not see things through. You will not be able to see one complete experiment through and see how it takes. Hustling means that you're running 5 experiments at the same time, which is great. So I think there's a combination of hustling and being patient, which sort of really pays out in the end in terms of, how you are able to sort of see your company grow. The 4th part, I think I covered this in the past, is identify your skill sets as an entrepreneur, right? And I know that a lot of us understand that you have to do a lot more things as an entrepreneur, and that's great. But the thing is that the sooner you understand what your core skill sets are, you'll build your team around that as such, right? And having that sort of a self-awareness and understanding what your absolute core is will, sort of take you to wonders. And I think that's sort of what my learning has been as well. And I hope this helps.
Of course it does. Thank you for such sage advice, Snigdha. And thank you for doing this for us here at Hustler Stories.
It was my absolute pleasure, Vanya. Hope to see you guys, go leaps and beyonds up and forth. I look forward to seeing a lot more Hustler Stories from Headstart as well.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks.